sometimes the life that you're living is the biggest blocker to the life that you want.
I do think I only have kind of one shot in a case. This AI industry is going very fast.
Completely break the process and use something else, a different tool, to help us progress even faster.
Nina's hourly rate is pretty expensive. So if this saved Nina a couple hours of research time, I'm sure it saved like a couple $100K of companies' expenditure.
It really shocked me because I didn't know it could hallucinate like that much.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ambition Aligned. I'm your host, Devin Coombs. I'm a CPA MBA who has helped negotiate multi-billion-dollar deals as a financial expert. But today I am interviewing my friends Harton and Nina, who are the founders for TABot. This is a really cool AI software that helps technical accountants just do their work so much faster, like 10 times to 100 times faster. I've tried it. I'm a huge advocate for it. And today we're going to see their journey, and we're going to ask them a bunch of questions about what it's like to do a startup in the Bay Area from the ground up in this really exciting new space, like AI technical accounting software. Even if you're not an accountant, I think you're going to get a ton out of this episode. So please watch, please subscribe, and let's get to it. Great to see you all, Nina and Harton. It's really a pleasure. Thanks for being on Ambition Aligned. I'm so excited to share your journey with everyone on about how you have a startup now in the Bay Area. Not an easy thing to do, even though it's a bit cliche, right? But it's still not an easy thing to do. And trying to revolutionize the accounting, especially technical accounting area with your new company, TABot. And so I'd love just to hear a little bit from both of you about your story, how you got here, and what you're trying to accomplish. And then we'll dive on in.
Yeah, that sounds good. Maybe I'll start. I myself is a CPA. I've been in technical accounting for about 10 years in total so far. And how I thought about starting TABot is I'm actually a roommate with Harton, and I've been doing this day and day, and it never really occurred to me that I could use the latest technology and apply it to accounting until I hear them talking about AI all the time. So what really triggered, I think, is a technology advancement in the AI space. And it got me thinking, like, there's a lot of things in technical accounting that hasn't really changed much during the past 10 years. So it would be great that I could use that technology and apply to a traditional industry and see how it could be changed. So that's basically how it triggered my interest in the first place, is living through the pain point, having to live through it myself. It's kind of a no-brainer to start thinking about like how it could be streamlined and not just like, process improvement or how do we roll forward something better, but it's more like completely break the process and use something else, a different tool to help us progress even faster.
Well, maybe I'll start before that too, is it's not easy. I mean, it's exciting to go and break some processes and try to build a tool to fix it all.
Right.
But it's a different thing to leave a cushy accounting job in the Bay Area and then take a risk to build a product that doesn't exist, right? That's a very brave thing to do.
Right.
And I'm curious on like, how did that manifest? How did you both decide like, yeah, let's go in on this thing?
You want to take this one first?
Sure. Like say, I guess for my end, like both of my parents, they are entrepreneurial. So when I was small, I always want to run a business myself. And then, and I always like to build stuff. So like say from IKEA furniture to model to anything. So when I get to university, I noticed there's something called coding. And we were programming C++. And all my classmates hate it so much, and I love it. I love that we can actually build something to, reduce a lot of the mundane work. And that's why I switched actually after I graduated from integrated engineer, I self-study programming myself and get myself from like startup to AWS to Google. And then within Google, like say I'm always interested in the AI area. I have been monitoring this AI industry for the past like 5-6 years. And then I believe this is the time where AI is actually going to take a leap. Previously, I don't think the hardware itself or even the efficiency itself is enough to make it like more a broader scale of adoption. But right now is the time. And I truly believe like say there's a lot of area where AI can improve the industry. And I think in terms of accounting, because like Nina and I, we're roommates, and I kind of noticed like say for accounting is a very interesting space to work on. There's a lot of very old-fashioned process that I can't imagine they still exist in 2025. So I'm excited to use AI to actually help speed up, to help leverage AI to improve this industry efficiency.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard anyone say accounting is an exciting area before, Harton, especially an engineer. So it's it's really cool that you said that.
Yeah.
But I completely agree. I mean, from my perspective, being in technical accounting kind of at the highest of levels in top companies like Google, it is really archaic, and we do need to make it better. And it can be more like, it is really interesting. It's like, to me, it's always like, it's a search for the truth. Like the accounting is like, what is the actual substance of the underlying transaction? And we don't need to be like combing through thousands of pages of interpretive guidance nowadays to find that answer. There's got to be better ways. And it's really cool that you two have taken that next step to make it easier for companies and more value add and for professionals. And so walk me through a little bit of what that journey's been like. So now you've decided to take the leap and start a company together. What's that first few months look like?
I can take this. Like the first few months, like say, actually, like all this begins with like say Nina were talking to me. I say, oh, like this process is so slow. Like Harton, do you think there's a way that we can improve it? I was like, okay, yeah. Like I know there's like an AI technology that can probably help improve it. And I was like just trying out on one Wednesday afternoon for like 2 or 3 hours. And I was like, I built something, like I completely scrambled something up and then like show it to Nina. I said, hey, do you think this will help? And Nina tried a few questions. I was like, oh, that worked very well. It saved me like hours of research time. And, from there on, I already know like how much market this could become to. Because I mean, Nina's hourly rate is pretty expensive. So if this saved Nina a couple hours of research time, I'm sure it saved like a couple $100K of companies' expenditure. So like say, then we kind of like try to iterate on this products, and then we kind of like, reaching out for customer, beta users, try to get more feedback. And the journey is interesting because like say, when we first built it, it was providing a lot of values, but then, like the LLM model have been improving as well. So like at a certain point, our users start to see like, oh, like, but ChatGPT is doing a lot better too right now. Like as your answer and ChatGPT's answer is not that much difference. And I was like, okay, yeah, like we also need to catch up in this game. Like we need to keep improving our model. And we just recently launched a new model where it actually do a lot better with a lot better grounding. So instead of like say ChatGPT where it can hallucinate an ASC guidance, we actually make sure it actually quote from the exact code from ASC so that people can have confidence in our answer. And I think that's the most important things in accounting.
Yeah, well, I know that's excellent.
Yeah.
And I'll say, I know it firsthand, like being on the front lines, so many people will say, well, I used ChatGPT and it gave me this answer, and it will cite some guidance that doesn't exist, right? And that could be really messed up. Like
Right.
someone will say, well, how should we sample this transaction, or how do we make sure that like this control exists? They'll ask ChatGPT, and I'll say, oh, someone will cite this guidance. It's not real. It wasn't trained for that purpose. Anyone who's watching this, don't use ChatGPT for like legal work or accounting work. It wasn't trained for that, right? Like there's a reason we have professionals, or if you do it, at least have a professional review it, or use a specially trained model like what you guys are proposing here, right? Is like fine tune the general LLM in order to be trained against specific literature so that it isn't going to hallucinate. And then you guys test it. I'm sure you've tested it and made sure that it's actually accurate.
Yeah, we tested a bunch. Yeah, we kind of discovered it during, especially for lease accounting. A lot of times, I'll be like posting questions in there, and when I'm reviewing it, it's giving me guidance exactly to the point. And I'm like, this is like interesting because when I was writing memos, I never saw this guidance before, but it's basically describing everything I'm looking for. And then when I looked it up, it's completely a fake ID. What if ID is there, but the content is completely made up? It really shocked me because I didn't know it could hallucinate like that much. So that kind of like dial us back in and say like accuracy for us is number one differentiator. Like we need to be accurate and complete on our answers so that to give people confidence saying like, if your guidance is right, so all the analysis is based on that. So that is our groundwork, is to make sure that AIC citations are absolutely correct.
Yeah, that's critical. And I think people don't realize that enough, especially in regulated industries. You can't just be going rogue. You need to make sure that you're actually grounded in guidance. And so it's amazing that you're actually able to cite it. I haven't had any software that can do that yet. And so I'm excited to play with it more as it develops.
Yeah.
And so who's using it? How many people are testing it? And what's the initial take? Like, what are people saying?
We have launched the MVP starting in February, the mid-February. And so far, we have gathered feedback from about 30 beta users. We have met some of them in person. We have talked to them via Zoom calls. We collect a lot of feedbacks on like product roadmap and how they want to see improvement, what's important to them. So we'll be pivoting quite a bit depending on what people are telling us. And then at the same time, we do have, I do have a product in mind that I think will be like the core of the product. So on top of that, we're adding features, improvements all over the place. And we do have a 25% organic referral rate as well. So somebody will be using it and CFO controller, and they really like it. They think it's going to save time for their team or someone they know. So they will refer us to the other person. So we'll talk to them starting with emails and then demos and then onboard them, all of that good stuff. So
Well, I just got to say, like, as a, I've been in the business world for too long. I was an entrepreneur, like owning a recording studio, over 15 years ago, almost 20 years ago now. And you're doing everything right? Like you have an MVP, you're running with a lean team, you can't beat the traditional accounting engineer. I'll knock the finance engineer. Like accountants are better than finance people, hands down. So, especially generic finance people. And you're pivoting to what the customer wants, right? Like you're beta testing quickly and you're seeing, hey, what's most valuable for you here? And then you're moving to like add that value, which I think that's how you start an amazing company. So like the world's your oyster here. What are you like, can you give me an example of a pivot that you made? I think it'd be really interesting. Like you got something or a customer feedback from a few people and you said, oh crap, we got to change. Because it's not easy when you're pivoting and you're heading one direction and then you have to go another direction. It can be a bit emotional, right?
Yeah, Harton, do you want to take this one?
Yes.
Maybe just pick one of them because there's so many. There's a lot of sleepless nights. We'll be like, have we been doing it wrong? Or like, what if people don't buy it? Things like that.
Yeah. I think one of the pivots that we have done is like I shouldn't say pivots, but more like exploration is that we understand AI products is still a new thing in the market, and accountants are traditionally conservative. And we definitely want to add like a human layer in between to say, hey, like all these answers, we are all reviewed by, professional CPAs. I shouldn't use the word CPA, but professional technical accountants. And you can rest assured all these answers correct. So we want to add this human layer in between just like a code piece of software and hand it to the company. So we pivot to say, hey, yeah, let's do this. But then we also like say having some trouble like finding the actual connection because like a lot of the firms, they probably have their already existing consulting firm. And if we were to add this human layer, we present ourselves more like a consulting firm. So we kind of like definitely need some more strategic way to present ourselves so that like say the firm is willing to try us over their existing consulting technical accountant firm. Do you want to add on anything on top of this, Nina?
Yeah, so it's basically transitioning through after talking to a few people because there are some users asking, are you going to help me through the audit with the memo that you generate, right? Like they want to have that additional layer of assurance to make sure that, because a lot of these CFOs, controllers are not coming from a technical background. So even if we generate a memo for them, they don't have, time or they don't have enough talent in-house to actually review that to make sure it's accurate and audit ready. So some of them were asking us questions like, are you able to hand-holding us through the finish line for this particular transaction? So that's what really got us thinking, like, maybe we should combine the two and add a human layer so that people are more comfortable talking to a human instead of talking to a software and, don't know where to ask for help. So that's why we started pivoting towards more, it's called a software as a service industry. It's not very common, but we did look it up. It is a thing. And it's basically saying we're a consulting firm and we are utilizing this piece of technology to help cut the time. So maybe it took like 60 hours to do a memo. Now it's going to take 3 or 4. And then on top of that, that's how we're going to save cost for the companies because the hourly is going to be cheaper and the total amount of time spent is going to be a lot less. So that's where we're going for right now. But like Harton said, it's a little hard to, build up the network. So it's going to take a little time. So for the time being, we're still fine-tuning our model to make sure that we're improving day to day and make sure we're still maintaining these beta users with us as we're improving the software, as we're exploring the other side of the business.
Yeah, one add-on is service as a software, not the other way around. So
Oh,
it's like they coming con as like SaaS for
Yeah, no, service
V2.
as a software. Yeah, I remember we
Because
kind of
I
talking about that in our original coffee.
yeah
It's really, there's so many places that are doing this now, and it's so valuable. And I really
yes
think it's the next leg of the AI journey, right? Yeah, it's great that we can use AI and ChatGPT. And there's some people who are using it way too much, and it's like their new best friend, and they probably need some therapy around it. But then there's other people who have no clue about it, right? Like probably most of the population is still maybe just getting familiar with it. And so let's say like less than 10% of the population is kind of even familiar with ChatGPT. It doesn't mean that they know how to applicably use it for business cases. And so you need a unique skill set still of like a technical accounting plus a specialized, customized, fine-tune AI software, or software is probably not the right word for it, but you get it, like a fine-tuned model, right? And using that combination, you're able to deliver something that's better quality, more accurate at 10 times faster, right? Like 10 times less hours,
right.
which
yeah
kind of is fascinating because then it flips the industry on its head because so many people right now focus on the billable hour. Even myself, I've been in it for forever, and it's hard for me to sell to CAOs that I've known personally and say like, hey, I can work 10 times or 20 times faster than the average accountant. Give me a retainer, or let me flip my camera. Give me a retainer, or let's figure out like a flat fee so I can knock out this project. It's so hard to get over that culturally. And so and from a
Right.
budget
yeah
perspective, like they don't have budget for software, they have budget for hours. And so it's like a
Sure.
problem with the industry as a whole. So how are you kind of bridging those problems in order to not get lost in the noise while you're making this better product and kind of improving the world through the process?
You want to take this one?
sure. It's a very hard question. It's very
Yeah.
hard to do that. We always constantly get lost. There's like millions things to do in a startup, like going to pitch nights or like say improving the products, talking to users, to like say setting up the LLC itself, or like say there's just like so many things. So it's very hard. I think one thing is like to myself, I think customer is always the key. We hold customer dear to our hearts. And that's why, like, say, regardless of what, so we always want to talk back to customer what actually brings the values. And if we do really good on the customer, we eventually will get the referral connection to, even if we were to pivot to say, hey, on top of TABots as a software itself, we also offer this white glove hand-holding experience. Like if you actually ever need any extra hands on your team to make this work, we can help you on that. So I think that's the way we should go with, so that to keep us from getting lost on all these million
Yeah.
things.
So I guess the customer is your North Star here. Like listen to the customer. Otherwise,
Yeah.
there's only so many hours of the day and there's an infinite amount of work to do and pitches to make and all of that. What are you most excited about right now? I mean, this has moved so fast for you. We grabbed coffee just a couple months ago and you're already done 30 pitches
Yeah.
and have beta users and a 25% referral rate, which is amazing. And I tip my hat off to you. So what's the next 3 months look like? What are you trying to accomplish? And what are you excited about?
Ian, do you want to take this?
Yeah, so we are trying to launch our next module, which is called Contract Wizard, in the near future. So right now we have Instant Insights, which the purpose is to give CFO's controller a really quick answer, or anyone who wants to know a one-pager summary on a complicated scenario. So that's Instant Insights. Our second one we have launched so far is called Memo Writer. And that one is to, you can summarize a contract or put in a scenario. It's going to give you a very well-structured, because I came from Deloitte and EY background. So the memo is going to be looking a lot like those templates.
Oh, great.
Because that's my training. And so, yeah, it's going to give you a very well-structured memo with background, summary, question and answer format for different accounting issues, and then conclusion and citations. So it's pretty well built per some of the users. They really loving it right now. So the next module is to do Contract Wizard. So we're going to be able to, for you, the customer, to upload a contract. We're going to analyze it into a term sheet and then apply either Instant Insights or Memo Writer on top of that. So that's going to give almost like a more end-to-end, because technical accounting a lot of times start with a contract or a term sheet on our table. That's why we start looking and summarizing what are the key things I'm looking at, and then go research in the guidance to see what's applicable in accounting law. So for me, that's where I spend most of the time, is to read the contracts, understand
contract
it,
review.
and then at the same time to find that guidance. So this for me is going to take, it's probably going to save like 60% of a technical accountant's job. So they can, pivot to something of more strategic value. So that is our next go. We're hoping to launch. I'm not too sure for the engineering team. I'm going to push that back to Harton. But then on top of that, we are looking around. We have joined a pre-accelerator program as well, just to, find more connections, meet more people that way. And we do have a VC investor who's coaching us right now. So that's like everything kind of like come together. But at the core of it, it's a product I want to help people with their day-to-day work. So sometimes it's a little also conflicting, because it's something, sometimes customer wants something, but for me, I'm like, oh, but I don't want to go that route. But then me and Harton would discuss, and we will always agree that we should go where the customer, how the customer want this product to be. So that's how we're shaping it right now.
Yeah. So it sounds like a lot of new product features. So it started with like instant insights of, hey, I don't know anything about accounting, or I'm vaguely familiar and I want to understand what this does. It'll give you a quick insight, which sounds hugely valuable for most finance or even just non-finance professionals. I could talk about that forever. Like, how does that, salespeople could even help, like if they're trying to understand what a term would do for their top line. And then actually writing memos of like Big Four quality, which for people not watching, like people who aren't in the field, those could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, right, to draft. And now you're having software, you're having your fine-tuned model just knock that out. And then the next piece is actually contract review, I guess is what you're saying. So you're saying you could input a contract, like upload a PDF, and it would read out to the accounting. Would it write an accounting memo for you around it, or what does it do?
Yeah, eventually. And it's going to suggest journal entries too. And eventually schedules and everything you need.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So that's like direct competition with companies like Clarity. And there's a lot of like software around that contract review. That's huge valuations. Like that could be that's a multi-billion-dollar market, right? That you're going after.
Yeah. And
Totally agree.
And my understanding is for Clarity, I think a lot of times they will go through volumes of contracts, and it's going to flag any non-standard terms for someone to actually look at it and review it. So for us, we're kind of like want to tackle that piece. So we will flag it, but then we will also offer a solution for that piece. So we're going to give you suggestions of how you handle that complicated piece of information or non-standard term. So it's more like, in my opinion, maybe it's a slightly more focus on different things from Clarity. Because Clarity, I think, is more on the calculation, and it's more like going through any contract they put in related to 606 and potentially 842 at this point. But we want to focus more on the non-standard terms in those contracts.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then it sounds like even maybe make recommendations on how you could change those to have more optimal outcome, which could be really valuable to like salespeople and CFOs.
Right. We'll give alternatives and recommendations.
Wow. Yeah, that could be really powerful. Harton, it sounded like you wanted to say something in there, or did I miss that?
Yeah, like say just to add on what Nina have mentioned, like say we want to do more than just a ChatGPT for technical accountants. We want to be the technical co-pilots for technical accountants. We want them to be able to use it seamlessly for their everyday tasks. So like say eventually we may also want to embed it into any ERP system they have, or to make it just a lot seamless experience.
Wow. Yeah. And it's just you two right now, right? And then you have some people on the outside doing some coaching, but you're keeping it lean.
We do also have a couple of the friends to help with the coding as well.
That's great. It's great that you're keeping it lean, and it's so ambitious and exciting. And so what does it look like? When do you start? It sounds like maybe monetization is around the corner. Or are you still focusing on beta? What does those next stages look like?
Should I take that?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So for the monetization, that is something we are working on. I think like Nina and I were just so excited to build the products, but we definitely need the money. So we kind of still figuring out exactly how to do it. Like
It's all good. We can
Yeah,
talk
we've
about it.
been to a
Yeah.
few. Yeah, yeah, we've been through to a few like VC pitch night, and there are seems to be some investors interested. But at the same time, we started digging a little deeper, maybe a little too late. We noticed like a lot of people will start to learn this founding process early on, but we've been just heads up down, heads down making this product. So when we looked up and we're like, we've been bootstrapped all this time. And luckily, we do have some savings to support us so far. But the other thing is, we kind of calculated our runway for how long we could run with just two of us. But at the same time, we have kind of like look at different funding options, and we kind of came to a conclusion that maybe we're not that in a rush to, like to use that funding because we still want to improve the product side. So there are some features we want to launch before we go to market, before we scale up. So that's why we think the funding will become really handy. When we got enough cash, we can, like do marketing campaigns, all of that. But for right now, my focus is more on the product side, but let me know what you think, Harton.
yeah, like definitely. Like I think we are still trying to polish the products, and we are also in the process of figuring out what's the right pricing for our products. Because like given that we have beta-ish products, but also we are launching a lot more powerful products soon. So like we were trying very hard, like say what's the reasonable price
Yeah,
for
and it's
that.
tough to figure out because you're doing the service as a software, trying to figure out like how do you build that extra cost into the hourly rates, and then overcoming that boundary of getting budget approvals and the PO processes and all of that can be quite burdensome. And so, but it sounds like you're focusing mainly on the B2B channel. Are you focusing on partnership opportunities as well from a channel perspective?
Definitely open to it. We were just very heads down on building the products, so we haven't really explored
Okay,
that
no,
option yet.
it's first off, that's great for your customers, right? Like it sounds like you can't beat people who are, you're not too sales driven and you're mostly focused on the products, and you're not going to get the pressure from VCs to monetize too early. And you're not going to get, VCs are all well and good, but most of them are out there to get an early chunk from people who are desperate for cash. And I always tell everyone, like, business is like life and life is like business. Manage your lifestyle, manage your cash flow, and you're going to have a lot more freedom to make better decisions. And so I'm like, you guys are doing everything right? Like you don't jump into relationships unless there's something, a value add beyond money, because money can always come, right? But the expertise that you need, that's more important. But yeah, that's going to be interesting. It sounds like that's the next stage, is get these products launched, but then how do you actually start building some cash flow so you can either bridge it or how do you get VC funding to scale it? But you're still going to need that. You're ultimately going to need that bridge to actually sell, right? Which is that next.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Eventually.
Yeah.
But we don't know if it's like in 3 months, in half a year, in a year. So we're luckily, like I said, we have some savings. But one thing that was a little shocking to me is to see how much the healthcare in the marketplace is costing. So it's a lot more than I thought it would be. So for us, we have to like do our calculation. We have to bake that in as a part of the fixed cost that we have to.
Oh, the healthcare
to,
of like not having health
Yeah.
benefits, right?
Yeah, right. All of that. So we have to go to the marketplace and get ourselves. So that's like, additional fixed cost for us. And it's a little shocking.
Yeah. USA, very unfortunate. I've met people who are 60 and multimillionaires and they still work jobs because they need the healthcare. They're like, I can't afford the healthcare. Even though I have $5 million in the bank, it's going to be like $10,000 a month for healthcare, and I can just work this job to, get health benefits. It's a bummer.
Yeah.
It's a real shame for entrepreneurs specifically. But I mean, it's extremely exciting what you're all what you are accomplishing. And so you should all be really like proud of
Thank you.
yourselves. And I'm really impressed, and I'm rooting for you. And I'll, everyone here on the channel, I'll make sure there's a lot of accountants that watch this. Where can they find out more, or how are you taking on more beta testers, or what's going on there?
You want to go?
Oh,
Yeah.
we're definitely taking more beta users. So they can always visit to www.tabot.info. They can also reach out to us on the email on this website. We're also looking for partnership, like say to like design partners or like say partner to show this to more people, sales partner, etc. So like say we definitely looking for a lot
Okay,
more
yeah. So
connection.
people who might be able to add value to your team, you're looking for people, to come in, but not necessarily employees at this point. It's more like how can you come in as a partner and
Yeah.
help sell?
Yeah.
Anyone specifically come to mind? Like anyone that you're like role profile that you're looking for?
So we kind of notice for
Yo.
our beta users, they're usually like CFOs and controllers with employees about 50 to 500 kind of in size. So I guess like most of the people that's the target market we're looking at right now. It's more from say Series B, Series C, all the way through just a private company, but pre-IPO most of the time. So that's I want to say that's a pool of people that would be like most interested in talking with and just see how our product can help them save a lot of times. Um, and so, yeah, a connection that fits out of that profile would be great. But at the same time, like just feel free to come talk to us if you're interested in the product, honestly, because we want more people to try it. Because to help people save time, that's the first goal of mine. And we want to see how we can go from there and gather feedback.
Yeah, well, I'll put your emails in the link. Go
One thing
ahead,
to add,
Harton.
one thing to add on top is like say we do see there's a lot more need for technical accountants when companies are going through their first year
Yeah.
audits. So if you're someone who deal with companies with first year audits, or if you're going through first year audits, that would be a great person to reach out to, like us. We can help you with
Yeah,
that.
and it's just off the top of my head, that's something like a lot of smaller firms potentially could be great because a lot of people going through first year audits don't want to hire the big four firms because it's really, really expensive. And then you have your mid-tier, small tier firms. Like I really like Principal Consulting Group.
Yeah.
Those are great to work with them and maybe figuring out a partner pricing of like, hey, you can use our software and like,
Yeah.
if you can help implement, like train someone on their software, train them on your, on your fine-tuned model, you guys can leverage each other's networks to go sell. And then you don't have to worry about hiring a bunch of consultants to your service as a software. So I'm happy to make those connections, but I'll also, anyone who's watching, please reach out to you all. What's the best way to reach out to you all? Is it just the emails? I'll put them in the below, or do you have your LinkedIn's, or are you going to be launching a website soon?
We do have a website, it's like the
Okay.
TABot.info. So I think email is the great way to reach out to us.
Yeah. Email or LinkedIn, both are fine.
Okay. And what else is
Yeah.
going on? How are you balancing regular life outside of being entrepreneurs?
Is that even a thing? I never have a weekend since then.
Yeah, it's hard to keep
And
track
I
of
don't have like,
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of time because before you will have like at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, I'll be like, okay, time to get off. But now that's when a lot of times that's when we start working again after dinner. We'll be sitting back at the table and we will like crunch until like 2 a.m. in the morning until we have to go sleep. That's when we'll be like, okay, let's connect tomorrow morning. But yeah, a lot of time has been spent on it. And we kind of noticed our friend circle start pivoting this way too. Because before, all of our friends were like just hang out at the weekend, almost like kill time kind of thing, like go watch a movie, go play some pickleball. But now our friend circle has changed to a bunch of startup people. So it's like every day we talk about like new tech stack, talk about like potential new competitors coming to the market. So that's a change for us too.
Well, it's good though. That's what I wanted to check in is, having a support network around you and building your tribe up while you take these pivots is so important, because that's the thing that holds so many people back when they're trying to enter a new stage of life or do something brave is you still have your friends who are bugging you about, and best meaning of like, oh, why aren't you going to the bar? Or why aren't you joining us for movie night?
Okay.
And you really need that new group of people that are doing what you're trying to go accomplish, to be around you and supporting you. And it sounds like you've gotten that maybe in some of these accelerators or just naturally, which is awesome.
Yeah,
yeah, totally agree.
in the Bay Area, it's easy to find friends like that. So
Yeah, it's kind of hard to find the opposite, right? I remember that first night I came here, I went to a bar and I think I found like 3 people who were starting a business and like 1 recruiter. And I'm like, does anyone do anything fun here? Like,
That's also my impression of the Bay Area from Vancouver. I was shocked, like say everyone is like engineer, PM,
Yeah, I
or
was from
UX.
LA, and it's like everyone's an actress, an actor, or like a musician. And then you come here, and I'm like, where is there any culture here? Do we have anything? Yeah, but yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Well, I mean, I mean, I'm really excited to watch your journey. I'm rooting for you, and I hope you all know I'm here to support you throughout it. And so will my audience be, and I would love to come have you on maybe periodically and just see an update on what's interesting you or what you're learning through the process. I guess maybe I'll
Absolutely.
I'll close with one more question, and then if you want to ask me anything, I'm happy to talk more too. God, I know you're all busy. What's been the like separately? What's been the biggest thing you've learned from this journey so far?
That's a great question. I think for myself, having a startup is always my dream, but then like really meaning to it is one thing. I come to the realization to this like recently, like because like Nina and I, we both have a good, well-paying job, and we were thinking, oh, okay, if this doesn't work out, like say maybe we should set a timeline, we should go back to our full-time job. But recently, I kind of like come to a realization, like say this has been my dream since I was young. I actually planned my whole career around like going to startup companies, going to big four. I'm sorry, not big four. I mean FAG
Same thing, just different.
companies.
Yeah.
Same thing, same. But like like going to different companies just to learn how they do the business, tech business. I even go to like I even become a sales before just to learn the business side. So I come to a realization I have been dreaming about this, and this has been always something I want to do. And I do think I only have kind of one shot in a case because um I felt like this AI industry is going very fast. If I didn't make it work, then I might pass the window. Uh, Maybe I have more than one shot, but anyway, but like so I do see the future with what Nina and I'm building. I believe this industry have a lot of opportunity to improve the process. I can't find any better industry than this one that we're working on, like given the expertise we have. So I come to a realization that like say, yeah, like if I'm still half-assed, not determined, it's hard to sell the product too. So I think that's the greatest lesson that I learned. Like say I kind of realized this is something I really want to make it happen.
Well, yeah, let me
Make it
jump in there, and then I'll
succeed.
go to you, Nina. But I think that's cool, and I see that change in you over the last couple of months. Just it seems like you're genuinely excited, and you're like kind of. It's amazing how many people I've met in my life where they kind of go into their career and they back pocket that dream of like, oh, I have this bigger dream for my life where I want to add value, and then they get in their career and their lifestyle can take advantage, kind of hijack their career. And I heard a quote today of like sometimes the life that you're living is the biggest blocker to the life that you want, right? Like you're living out of congruence with your values to what you actually want,
Absolutely.
which is, and it takes a true act of bravery. Like it's really scary to make pivots away from a giant company where you're making lots of money, like Google or Salesforce or any of these giant companies. It's really scary for someone who went from being a college student to making all this money to then taking a risk on their dream. That's a really brave thing. And I think it's awesome that you bring that up, that you're realizing how valuable that is. Yeah. So tats off. And that's why I love talking to people like yourselves and supporting. It's just like, there's got to be more people like that. There's too many of us like corporate slaves who get addicted to the lattes and addicted to like the $5,000 a month rent and $20,000 cruises. And I think what you're saying here,
Yeah.
Harton, and I'm sorry, I'm ranting here, is you're realizing that chasing that dream was much more valuable than any of that.
Totally agree. It makes me feel like I'm realizing my value and my actually making my dreams to
That's
happen.
amazing. Yeah. And I think anyone watching this, I hope takes that. And it's like, if you had a dream in your back pocket that you put aside for money should be a tool to accomplish your dreams and help others. It's not meant to be the end goal. Right. So that's huge, Harton. Right, thanks for sharing. Nina, that's a hard thing to follow. What did you learn?
Makes me nervous.
Sorry.
Yeah. I don't know. Like for me, I think the biggest thing for me changing me is learning how to take risks. And because all my life I've been pretty much, my college, I was accounting, and then I found a job in Big Four. It's just like very routine. Like everyone in a similar position, we all went through the same thing. And, the friend circle you hang out with, everybody's doing the same thing. All my friends are kind of assistant controller, director at different companies. And when I told them I, kind of left all of that behind and started doing a startup, some of them were genuinely shocked and they're like, why? And for me, that was kind of like a question I was asking myself every night before I went to bed for the first month after we decided to do TABot. Is like, what am I trying to get out of this? And for me is, I think learning to take that risk and live a life that's slightly different from what I had planned for myself. Because originally, the 401k, we all max it out. We all plan our retirement around 55 and 60. But now I see an opportunity to change that traction. And that's a little bit exciting for me because all my life I've been following the rules, like especially technical accounting. I think my career also shaped who I am partly as well. But now it's almost like I feel young again. I feel like I'm back at the crossroad, back in college, deciding what I want to do. And now I have this opportunity to explore a different path. And that makes me feel very energetic again. So I guess that's one thing I learned from it is like trust the process and just take the risk and anything that will happen will just follow. So we'll see.
Well, I love that. I mean, I think it's just as valuable as what Harton was saying is like so many of us chase that retirement. I see it all the time. It's like, and that carrot is something that's always moving, right? Like I've seen enough people, like I think we all go to college and everyone's like, man, if I could just get a 6-figure job, I'll be set. And then you get a 6-figure job and they're like, well, if I can make 200,000 or 300,000, well, if I could have $1 million in the bank, I'll be set. Then those millionaires are like
Right.
3 million, then 3 million, 5 million, then 5 million, 10 million. And I know deca millionaires now, and they're not happy. They're like, they're chasing. At some point, you got to realize maybe you're chasing the wrong thing, right? Like maybe that's not the thing that's going to make you happy, especially like where you're
Right.
50, 40, 50, 60, you don't need 10 million bucks. Like, I mean, unless you're like drinking champagne, like taking baths in champagne every night, like I don't know what you're doing, but you like the sense of adventure and purpose is so valuable, and the sense of freedom to pursue that adventure is so much more important than chasing the money itself. And surprisingly, a lot of the times the money then kind of comes naturally after that, as long as you have a skill. But you kind of have to go through that too. You can't just like be the 18-year-old who does the startup and has no skills, because then like, what are you got to learn and go through those processes. So I'm with you 100%, Nina. I'm in the process of like leaving Google right now to go pursue my dream of like being a strategic advisor and helping startups.
Nice.
So
Congrats.
yeah, thanks. And so I'm with you.
Congratulations.
It's terrifying, right? It's like, why am I giving up a $500,000
is.
salary, to go pursue a dream?
Right.
Yeah.
But my family's supportive, and it's something like I love talking to people like yourselves and the other startups that I have worked with. It's just so much more fun to help people go from 0 to 10 million, or like I'm working with one to go from like they're going from 20 million to 250. That's their goal. And it's just like, that's way more valuable and fun and educational than helping Google make another $1 billion, like it's like, it's just a drop in the bucket. So I'm excited to watch all your journeys, and I'm excited to share how my journey's going throughout that process too. So.
Okay, great. Yeah. Sincerely happy for
Congratulations.
you.
That's a really
Yeah.
brave
Thanks.
move.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see if I'm kicking myself in a few years, but I'm with you. It wasn't easy. Anything else? Any final remarks? Anything that you would like to, like anything else that you're working on that you'd like to share with the group? Or you just head downs in product and want some beta users or partners to reach out to you?
Yeah, like just beta use people who are going through the first year audits. Because like we kind of realize, like say for technical accountants, it's more like a aspirin, like a essential aspirin than like daily vitamins. And people going through the first year audits, they need this aspirin, and we're the aspirin for you. So yeah, like say happy to have any connection that you know of, listening on this channel. But also, yeah, like say back to quitting Google, and also like say chasing the tails. Like I'm totally on the same boat. Like say when I get the promotion, I was like, oh yeah, it's I should have it. I deserve it. But like it's making me even happier when we reach out to one of our customers, say how she loved the products and like how we're doing the amazing job. Like that makes me a lot, like 10 times happier than like I got my promotion.
Well, yeah, I think that shows you what we were made for as people. Like I was reading an interesting book recently about how like corporations and organizations are very complex things. They're not just a place where people work. They're machines. They're also like psychic prisons for people. They become like your cultural, like, and it's this famous,
Right.
it's this famous book used in a lot of MBA programs. But there's so many different interpretations of organizations, and you actually get entrapped in it, and you start getting expectations to move up the ladder. And organizations want that out of you,
Right.
right? They want that out of you, so you stay in the organization and add it value, and they get value by holding on to very high talent. But it's not necessarily the way humans were meant to live, right? We weren't meant to live in security. We're meant to pursue brave goals and go on adventures. And like so many of our ancestors traveled oceans to go like make their families better, and or like traveled across deserts on horseback, like they went on these adventures, and you guys are going on yours. So I'm excited for everyone to follow along with it. Fully supportive of you, rooting for you. Put all the links below, and hopefully you get a lot of traction. And I'll keep advocating for you on the sidelines. So thank you all I appreciate you joining, and we'll catch up with you in a couple of months on
Yeah.
how it's all going.
All right. Sounds great.
Sure.
Thank you.
Looking forward. Thank you.
Appreciate it.